Well, hello there, my fellow American. I see that you might be wondering why there are all these commercials of Jon Hamm dressed as Santa Claus talking about the World Cup. And first off, you might naturally be asking, why is Jon Hamm cast as Santa Claus? Like, he is too sexy to be Santa Claus. It's distracting. But secondly, you might also be wondering, why is the World Cup taking place during Christmas this year? As a knowledgeable American, you might gander that all the other past World Cups took place during the summer. And to answer that, well, it's a bit of a long answer, and I actually did a video on it up in the I Think He's Here. But the short version of it is, much like what happened on Twitter recently, some filthy rich dude decided to buy it and ruin it. Yeah, a prince in the Middle East who was born with more money than you will ever make in 100 lifetimes, so stop trying, took over Qatar and wanted to put the small Gulf country on the map. So he made billions off of Qatar's natural gas shales and used that oil money to bribe FIFA. And FIFA looked at them and saw the human rights atrocities committed by Qatar and said, here you go. World Cup for 2022, baby. Because if you thought FIFA gives two shits about human rights, let me remind you who they gave the last World Cup to. Oh yes, good old to Putin, baby. And since one dude had enough money to buy the biggest sporting event in the world for a country where it's too hot to play during the summer without risking heat exhaustion and possible death, well, then you have the answer to why the World Cup is taking place during winter for the first time in history. And this has had a domino effect across world football, making the regular season for all the major leagues in the world hyper-congested. I'm talking about sometimes playing 3 games in a week with little to no breaks, and this has in turn caused injuries to some of the best players in the world. Just ask Senegal how they feel about it, with Sadio Mane unfortunately doomed to miss this World Cup. And while the summer heat was too hot for pro athletes to play in Qatar, it wasn't too hot for Qatar to use migrant workers to build all these brand new stadiums in 122-degree heat. And if you thought, hey, that seems a little unsafe, you would be correct. Because these migrant workers, who let's be honest are about 1 degree away from indentured servitude, died in the fucking thousands to make some of these jaw-dropping stadiums. But hey, doesn't the 10th stadium look sweet? And that's not even all, guys. Apparently, Qatar winning the bid to host the World Cup caused such jealousy amongst the Gulf nations that Saudi Arabia and the UAE considered waging financial war and were even hours away from actually invading Qatar in a scheme to steal the World Cup away from the tiny Gulf nation. I cannot make this up. Look it up. And in the lead up to the World Cup, FIFA were raided by the FBI. And what they found was what we already knew, that FIFA is one of the most corrupt organizations in the world. Because they were taking bribes like a porn star takes dick. Just from any direction. And every direction, apparently. And despite all this corruption, there were human rights violations, and possible war, FIFA was like, yes, we see you and we hear you. But wouldn't it just be magical to have the World Cup during Christmas? So yeah, this has to be the wildest World Cup in history, and that's all before a single ball has been kicked. And that is why you have sexy Jon Hamm dressed as Santa Claus, because who better than the madman himself to sell us on the most fucked up World Cup in human history? And naturally, there have been multiple calls to boycott this World Cup. In fact, I have many friends who have said they're not interested and will not watch this World Cup this year because of all the human rights atrocities in Qatar. And while I would blame no one for not watching this World Cup, this is also Lionel Messi's final World Cup, bro. What am I supposed to do? Punish myself and not watch the GOAT try to capture the final jewel in his Infinity Gauntlet? What am I supposed to do about this, bro? I'm just a YouTuber. This is his last dance World Cup, okay? This is his Jordan World Cup. I don't run FIFA. I just want to be distracted from my shitty life, okay? I just got my channel deleted last week for no reason. I don't even know if I'll be here in a month. And Lionel fucking Messi is trying to be the GOAT here. I'm trying to witness greatness. Also, this is Cristiano Ronaldo's last World Cup, but he's kind of washed. But, there's a slight chance that both of them could meet in the final. Can you imagine that? Thanos versus Captain South America. And as an American, are we not supposed to support our country, the U.S. men's national team, from reaching their first World Cup in 8 years? Well, that would just be unpatriotic. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. Call me a shitty person. I'm doing it. And if you are too, well then, let me be your guide in this video. Help you distract from the mortal coil of your life and give you a quick SparkNotes guide in the most corrupt World Cup yet. As usual, I'll give you all the juicy storylines heading in, tell you who are the favorites, who are the sleepers, and give you a realistic expectation of how the U.S. men's national team is really going to do. And of course, since you are American, tell you which team is actually worth bandwagoning in this World Cup. Welcome to a Clueless guide to the 2022 World Cup. Buckle up. But first, like FIFA, I gotta pay some bills. Hey, it's your number one fat Asian, and you might have noticed that I'm not quite as fat anymore. And I tried a lot of things, but the only thing that worked for me is keto, low carb. And that's why I love Factor meal plans. And hey, it's the jam-packed holiday season, but luckily for you, Factor meal plans have never frozen meals ready to eat in 2 minutes. Just pop a few holes, microwave that bitch, and you're eating good. And I know what you're thinking, microwave food, it can't be that good. No, actually, they are delicious and nutritious. And it just saves me so much time to do things that I need to do, like edit a video about the World Cup per se. And they have multiple meal plans to fit your needs. So if keto isn't your thing, they have calorie counter, they have chef's choice, any type of lifestyle you have, Factor meal plans can fit in with you. So head over to go.factor75.com/BMOnus60 and use the code BMOnus60 at checkout and get a whopping 60% off your first box. The link is in the top of the doobly-doo. Once again, that is go.factor75.com/BMOnus60 and use the code BMOnus60 at checkout and you will go ahead and get 60% off of your first box. So if you want to skip the mess and the hassle of all that cooking this holiday season, then Factor meal plans might just be for you. But alright, now, back to the show. Alright, so first off, as an American, I think it's a pretty obvious choice who you should be rooting for at this World Cup. Our boys actually made it this year. Yep, their first time back in 8 years. And make no mistake about it, this is the most talented U.S. men's national team ever to go to a World Cup. Which honestly, is not saying much. But since their last appearance, the improvement in the technical ability of this squad has grown exponentially, with many of these kids playing in the best leagues in the world. And also notable is that the U.S. men's national team is the second youngest squad attending this World Cup. Now everyone knows about Captain America, Christian Pulisic. And yes, his form at Chelsea has been okay, but when he puts on those stars and stripes, he's gonna ball. He always balls. And you know that after missing out on the World Cup 4 years ago, this kid from Hershey, Pennsylvania is gonna put every fiber of his being in for America at this World Cup. But the big difference from 4 years ago is he isn't the only talented youngster on this team. No. Now we have kids like Gio Reyna, who's an exciting wonderkind over at Borussia Dortmund, the premier talent factory of Europe. Some of the runs and goals this kid scored are outrageous. If this kid was English, he'd be worth $100 million. But since he's American, he's worth about half of that. And you have Weston McKennie, who's become a regular at Italian giants Juventus, popping up and scoring some of the most crucial goals for them over the last couple seasons. And he might be our secret weapon because he's one of the best in the world at long throws. So if we want to throw in anywhere near the box, this motherfucker gonna Tom Brady that bitch. And then we stole Serginho Dest away from the Netherlands. This gifted attacking fullback has already played for the likes of Barcelona and is currently at AC Milan. And that's just naming a few of the bigger names on this squad, with plenty more playing across the Bundesliga, La Liga, and a bunch in the Premier League. And with the most talented team in U.S. history, our odds to win this World Cup is 16th. Yep, just dead middle of the pack. Alright, listen, this squad, while it does have some kids who can ball, also have a lot of question marks, primarily at striker. Josh Sargent will probably be leading the line, and while he has spent some time in the Bundesliga and is currently in the Golden Boot race in the English Championship, that's kind of like saying he's one of the top scorers in the G League. Not exactly world beater status, you know? And overall, this team's form has not been great. After a last-second heartbreak in the last World Cup qualification cycle, they barely qualified for this one, getting in on the final day and only through goal differential. If you were pointing a gun to my head and a gun to my dick and asked me my honest assessment of the squad, I would tell you that they are talented enough to make it to a quarterfinal. Now, I can hear the Europeans scoffing at our quarterfinal run. And hear me out. I'm not saying it because I think the U.S. men's national team is that good. I'm saying it because I think this is kind of a weak World Cup. I think there are a bunch of good teams, but all of them have clear weaknesses. And with most of the U.S. men's national team playing in the best leagues in the world, it's not like in years past where they're not used to playing to this quality of player. So I could see them with a bit of luck, and at every major tournament you need a bit of luck. Maybe, if everything goes right, they can make it to a quarterfinal. But they're also inconsistent enough that they might not even make it out of the group stages. And that is because of their main weakness, which sadly is their coach, Greg Berhalter. This man has taken the most talented crop of U.S. players in history and turned them into the equivalent of boiled, unseasoned chicken. Now, a great national team coach can meticulously craft a squad to bring out the best in each other, to create something greater than the sum of their parts. Now think of the opposite of that. And you have Greg Berhalter. And the final squad that this man has selected has a few head-scratching snubs. Like really, no Zach Steffen. I know his form hasn't been great lately, but he's been the backup at perennial English champions Man City for years. He was pretty much the U.S. top choice at keeper right up to this World Cup, and now you're telling me he can't even make the squad? And we already had question marks at striker, so for us to not bring Jordan Siebatschö, who was killing it early this season, for top of the German league, Union Berlin, which is mind-boggling. As I said before, if the U.S. men's national team were going to make a run, they need some luck. And Jordan has proven that he could pounce on a loose giveaway and punish teams on the break. He's done it in the Champions League. He's done it in the Bundesliga. He's done it against the likes of Manchester United. There's no other American striker that can say that. He could at least offer something as a super sub. If we go down a goal, he could have chased the game for us. But instead, we bring a guy from the Turkish league? And Jordan Morris, a guy who's played in the MLS his whole career. You picked the wrong Jordan, my dude. Mark my words. If the boys make a run at this tournament, it's going to be in spite of Berhalter. Not because of it. Okay, I'm being a little bit negative here, but also our group is no slouch. We got England, who invented the sport and are one of the favorites to win. And then you got Wales, who made a semifinals run in the Euros in 2016, and made a Final 16 appearance in 2020. And then the final country is Iran, who just apparently voted to execute 15,000 protesters for not wearing headscarves. So they probably got bigger shit to worry about right now, but Wales and England are problems. And with only the top 2 teams advancing out of the group stage, it's gonna be tough. We're gonna need a little bit of luck and a lot of motivation to get us out of this group. And who better to give a little motivation than the most well-known American soccer coach in the world, Ted Lasso. Yes, I'm not making this up. The Ted Lasso wrote each player on the U.S. men's national team a personalized note. And then they put up billboards of these notes in each one of these players' hometown. And come on. If this doesn't get you gassed up as a player, I don't know what will. Because belief is a powerful thing. And even though I have my reservations about Berhalter, we have Ted motherfucking Lasso on our side. And with him, second season I believe that the U.S. men's national team can shock the world. And if we somehow beat England, which, this is a weird stat, we've actually never lost to England in a World Cup. Caveat, we've only played twice, but still, never lost. And if we beat England again, I don't care that you invented the sport. It's called soccer from now on. So God bless America, and God bless the boys in Qatar. Believe, baby. Believe. And moving on. Now listen, I made it very clear. We're all rooting for the U.S. men's national team first and foremost, okay? But much like those stinky hoes in your DMs, it's always wise to keep a couple of backup plans just in case shit goes sideways. And I wouldn't blame you if you want a little side bay at this World Cup. Now I get it, you're American. You want to root for a winner, okay? So let's talk about the favorites at this World Cup, and you might be interested in bandwagoning. And top of the odds to win the World Cup this year are Brazil. Now I think when most Americans think of the World Cup, the first team that comes to mind is Brazil. And with good reason. Historically, they've won the most World Cups, coming in with 5, and the style in which they play the beautiful game is often dazzling, flashy. Think the Showtime Lakers, but in green and yellow. But it's been a little bit of a lull for the South American Giants. They haven't captured glory since the early 2000s. But coming into Qatar, they are in scintillating form, not losing a single game in South American qualification. It will once again be spearheaded by Neymar Jr., who will be surrounded by a new wave of exciting but untested talent at this World Cup. Names like Martinelli, Antony, and Vinicius Jr. will give Brazil all the shiny new toys when it comes to attacking. They also feature the best defensive midfield combo at this World Cup, with Champions League winners like Casemiro and Fabinho protecting their backline. And kind of surprisingly for Brazil, they are spoiled for choice at keeper with 2 all-world players in Ederson and Alisson. But make no mistake, this team is not exactly flawless. For one, their defense is ancient. They called up Dani Alves, who is fucking 39, and one of their center backs is Thiago Silva, who's old enough to have grandkids. Now, hopefully, these two aren't going to get a lot of playtime, but God forbid, if injury happens, how do you expect either of these guys to mark Mbappe? They'll be fucking toast. And then I also have a question on who's going to be their striker. Right now, it looks like it's going to be Gabriel Jesus, whose form has been transparent lately. You got Pedro, who looks like a beast in the Brazilian league, but can he do it on the big stage? And listen, they're favorites for a reason. Neymar is always a monster when he dons the Brazilian number 10. But I just get this feeling that in a quarterfinal, or in a semifinal, or God forbid the final, their defense might let in a goal or two. Or in one of these matches, they could struggle to find goals. And personally for me, I think the favorites are who the odd makers have as the second best chances to win the World Cup, and that team is Argentina. Oh, Argentina. I could wax poetic about how this is one of the best overall rosters going to Qatar. As usual, they are spoiled for choice and attacking options. Lautaro Martinez has become one of the best strikers in the world, and unlike Argentinian sides of the past, they actually have a defense. And they're not just good, they're fucking nasty. I'm not even kidding you. One of the defenders, Lisandro Martinez, his nickname is the Butcher. This defense, if they don't win the ball off you, they'll just destroy you instead. And now that they actually have a quality keeper for once, this is the best defense Argentina has featured in my lifetime. But this is all window dressing because the real story here is about one man. You know his name, Lionel Messi. The living legend has announced at the age of 35 that this will be his final World Cup. And pretty much everyone who isn't from Portugal or Brazil is going to be rooting for him. A win at this tournament would cement Messi as the greatest player to ever kick a ball, an honor that he already honestly deserves, but a World Cup win would silence any doubt forever. And while he was dogshit last year at PSG, this season has been a completely different story. we have seen him return to sensational form. A quality high enough that some are even saying that he is back to being the best player in the world. Now, Father Time has sapped some of his explosiveness, but his playmaking, dribbling, and finishing are just as game-shattering as ever. And then you factor in this team's form, which has been immaculate. You thought Brazil was good. Argentina hasn't lost a game since 2019. A pandemic has come and gone since the last time Argentina lost a football match. And you know, every player on this team will be on emotional meth trying to win this World Cup for Messi. And the entire country of Argentina will be transferring their chi to the Argentinian Goku to spirit bomb the fuck out of this World Cup. It just feels like all the stars are perfectly aligning for Lionel Messi's last dance World Cup. They should easily get out of the group stages, but the path to the final could be littered with powerful enemies. With a possible dream scenario that could see them up against Brazil in the semifinals, and maybe, just maybe, a final matchup up against Cristiano Ronaldo and Portugal. And all I have to say is, do it, football gods, come on! One time, please, for the culture. And if you are a neutral or just a lover of sports, the simple and easy answer for who to root for at this World Cup is Lionel Messi and Argentina. And alright, coming in with the third best odds are the defending World Cup champions, France. Yes, the winners 4 years ago in Russia only come in with the third best odds, most likely because they were the hardest hit by the injury bug. Big names like Paul Pogba and N'Golo Kante, who were instrumental in their win in Russia 4 years ago, are going to be missing out in Qatar due to long-term injuries. And beyond those two notable names, there's just been massive turnover with the squad, with many of the players that won the last World Cup missing out in Qatar due to injury, old age, or being shit. But don't count them out just yet, because here's the thing. France has so much talent that even with all these big names missing, they still have a shot to go back-to-back. These baguette-loving motherfuckers are stacking golden generation on top of golden generation over there. And the big name on the marquee is Mbappe. He's only gotten better since 4 years ago. He's probably going to be in the race for the Golden Boot Award at this World Cup. You got Antoine Griezmann. Well, let's be honest, he's sucked dick for club recently, but every time he plays for France, he becomes a goal machine. Oh, and their lead striker, Karim Benzema, just won the Ballon d'Or. For my American friends, it's basically the MVP of the world when it comes to football. So yeah, they're absolutely loaded with attackers. The question mark comes in their midfield. Now, they have two exquisitely talented youngsters in Camavinga and Tchouaméni, and these two have the potential to become this next generation's Paul Pogba and N'Golo Kante. But they're young and untested with this national side. And then defensively, they actually got a huge boost with Raphael Varane just barely recovering from a hamstring injury to make it to this World Cup. And that's a sigh of relief because their other first-choice center back, Mbappe, is going to be out due to injury. But this is France, and they got talent on top of talent. And the guy who they're going to replace him with, Saliba, has been sensational for Premier League leaders Arsenal and could arguably be an upgrade. The biggest question is we've just never seen a lot of these kids under the big lights. But you could say the same thing about turning favorites Brazil or even Argentina. So France is going to go into this tournament with probably the most talented team from top to bottom. On paper, they have the best front three of anyone in this tournament, and thus, they have a chance to be the first back-to-back winners of the World Cup since 1962. And then, with the fourth best odds to win the World Cup this year, are the country that invented the sport, jolly old England. Now, after overperforming 4 years ago in Russia and coming runners-up at Euros 2020, you would think that there would be more hype around this team. I mean, for God's sakes, they had Pokemon do their fucking promo for Euros last year. But in dreary old England, there seems to be a bit of doubt about this team. Now, I can't tell if this is actually warranted or if it's just the ceaseless pessimism English people naturally possess. But I feel like they do have some legit concerns, because one of the best players, Reece James, was yet another victim of picking up an injury at exactly the wrong time. He's one of the best right backs in the world and will be sorely missed in this team. And their coach, Gareth Southgate, has been under some fire lately, as he opted not to bring the sparkling defender Tomori to Qatar. A huge head-scratcher, considering that Tomori is widely considered as the most informed defender that England has right now. And with Trent Alexander-Arnold about as reliable defensively as a toilet paper roll, and old concrete foot Harry Maguire trying to run down Mbappe, I can see why people in England might be a little nervous. Then you have to factor in England's form over the last 6 matches leading into Qatar. And to use a British term, it's been shite. The lads haven't won a single match in months leading up to the big dance. But despite all these dark clouds, Gareth Southgate has generally had the golden touch once a major tournament kicks off, and they are spoiled for choice in in-form attackers, with Harry Kane being one of the best strikers at this tournament, and he will most likely be flanked by the likes of Phil Foden, Marcus Rashford, or Saka, all of whom have been in excellent form for their domestic clubs. And their midfield features one of the most exciting talents in the world, Jude Bellingham. This kid is a do-it-all midfielder destined to cost some European giant $120 million this summer. If England go far, Jude will definitely play a big role in that. And the young starlet will be surrounded by depth and experience. This squad is battle-tested. Their golden generation is peaking at just the right time. And with a wide open field at this World Cup, could football finally be coming home. And I think they have a fucking decent shot at it. Just as long as they avoid their main nemesis, a penalty shootout. Yeah, just historically, if England go to a penalty shootout, they might as well get on the plane, because it doesn't end well. And on that note, I still don't know why they didn't bring Ivan Toney. Southgate, how do you not bring the one dude who does the one thing your country sucks at? This Toney dude treats penalties like Jeffrey Dahmer treats women. He murders them. My man is Steph Curry from the spot, and y'all left him at home? Yeah, I get why some people want Southgate gone. And yes, he's made some real head scratchers selecting this team, but every team at this tournament has holes. It's a weird World Cup, man. The vibes are just a little bit bizarro. From the venue to the teams, everybody is just making some weird choices lately. And that is why, honestly, beyond these 4 favorites, I could make an argument for a dozen teams to be in the 5th spot. Like Spain, who look to build off of a resurgent Euros performance. They're going to be going Tiki-Taka 2.0, featuring an exciting midfield of youngsters Pedri and Gavi, 2 of the most highly rated and up-and-coming stars in the world. But if I'm going to be honest, this Hispania side kind of feels like Phase 4 of the MCU. Yes, it's the same formula, and it feels familiar. But the new heroes, they ain't hitting, like Iron Man or even Captain America. And then you have Germany, who I think everyone's kind of sleeping on. And that's probably because they had poor showings in Russia and at Euro 2020. But if you look at history, they've made it nearly 70% of the time to at least a Final Four at the World Cup. And even without a clear-cut superstar at striker, they've scored a bajillion goals in qualification. And they have the actual best teenager at this tournament in Jamal Musiala. This is the guy who should have won the Golden Boy Award over Gavi this year. And Musiala is just special. He has the talent to become the next Mbappe or Haaland level of game changer. And you know the Germans are going to be a well-oiled machine. They always typically hide their weaknesses well and play better than the sum of their parts. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see them make it to the final, if not even win the whole damn thing. And honestly, my next best guess after them is just someone random. Just someone's going to come out of nowhere this year and make a Cinderella run. Croatia did it at the last World Cup, so it's not that far-fetched. And there are a handful of sleeper teams that have the quality to go balls deep in Qatar. And I should say no homo, because that's also not allowed in Qatar. But these teams, like Denmark, Uruguay, the Netherlands, even Portugal, they all have sneaky good squads that I could see get hot and make a run. And maybe I'm not going random enough, like Serbia. Serbia? Serbia has got some ballers. And I just feel like this World Cup could be utter chaos. And chaos is a ladder. And that is why I'm going to end my guide right here for right now and just go ahead and let the group stages finish before I come back and break down the knockout rounds at the start of December. Until then, sit back and enjoy the shit show that is the 2022 Qatar World Cup. Oh hey, just want to drop in and say thank you guys for watching this video. If you guys didn't know, this channel got deleted like a week ago, and it's just made me a lot more grateful to have this opportunity to entertain you guys and be on this platform for as long as I can. So I just want to say thank you guys so much. Enjoy the World Cup. I'd like to thank all my patrons, keep me alive. If the channel does get taken down, go ahead, feel free to remove your subscriptions, and just want to wish everyone a happy holiday and enjoy the World Cup. That's pretty much going to be it for me. Until next time, hopefully, America.